Hey, welcome back to another episode of The Fool's Journey by the Third Eye of Providence. I appreciate your support so much and thank you for tuning in. If you're not aware, this is one episode of a series of content that I'm creating here on this channel that is a walkthrough card by card of the Tarot from the start of the deck, which is the Fool. I am using the Robert Hansen's Tarot as a reference because it is a deck that can be read in reversals. Then I'm also comparing the imagery in that card with the imagery of the Twin Tarot, which shows a positive aspect and a negative shadow aspect. And this episode is, of course, regarding the card number 7, the Chariot. So we're on episode 8 of The Fool's Journey. If you haven't seen the other ones, go back and check them out. I'm also going to be reading to you the description from the Complete Book of Tarot, a comprehensive guide by Anthony Lewis. So let me get into this Chariot energy. Now I'm going to show you these cards as well as the card from the guide, because then you will get another reference of what this card looks like in different versions of the Tarot. So we have the Chariot. There you go. It says that the card of the Chariot says reason tames appetite and will. So card number 7, the Chariot, is connected to, in the astrology, the sign of Cancer. It's the crab, which is a water sign ruled by the moon. That is, again, the element of water is connected to this card. And the mythology and archetypes connected to this card are Hecate, Cancer, the sign of the crab, and Plato's Chariot as an analogy for the 3-part human soul: reason, will, and appetite. It's also connected to the archetype of the driver. Now, in traditional versions of the Tarot, when this card appears upright in a reading, according to the Mathers deck from 1888, it would represent victory, triumph, and overcoming obstacles. When read in the reverse, this card would talk about being conquered by your obstacles at the last moment or being overthrown. In the Rider-Waite, this card talks about triumph in war, vengeance, and providence. In the reverse, it would talk about a quarrel, a dispute, litigations, riots, and defeat. In the order of the Golden Dawn, whenever the Chariot appears in a reading, it talks about triumph, victory, good health, and success, though sometimes not enduring success, like a fast-paced energy to that. Okay, so the positive aspects of the Chariot would talk about strength of purpose, taking the reins, establishing clear boundaries, maintaining protective walls, traveling, determination, controlling opposing forces, and having a clear direction. This is also setting out on a quest and being focused on a goal. It also talks about mastery, journeyship, and relying on inner resources. It may also talk about respecting your own limits and the straight and narrow path, or a literal car or vehicle. In the negative shadow aspect of this card, the Chariot, it would talk about lack of directions, frustrating obstacles, aimless wandering, spinning one's wheels, frustrating obstacles, and letting go of the reins, poor boundaries, an awareness of one's own limits, and inability to stay on course or being pulled in too many directions at once. When we're reading the Chariot in the upright, this urges us to master the situation in the midst of changing circumstances. It says, the chariot commands you to take the reins on which you travel on the chariot on which you travel through life. Inside the protective shell of your personality, you have the necessary resources to accomplish your ambitions and your appetites, which may be pulling you in different directions. It's important to set clear boundaries and to respect your own limits. Now is the time to think clearly, take control, assume direction of your life. Often the chariot appears when you are planning a trip or about to embark on a significant journey, be it literal or metaphorical. Now, when the chariot is reversed in the reading, it says, when reversed, the chariot warns that you may be allowing yourself to wander aimlessly rather than assuming control of the direction of your life. You may be feeling vulnerable and at the mercy of outside forces. Your many ambitions and your desire for various pleasures may be pulling you away from your preferred path. Pay attention to establishing clear boundaries and knowing your own limits. Don't let go of the reins of your personal chariot. Now is the time to focus on what you value most and to organize your life so that you can arrive at your most cherished destination. If the chariot refers to a vehicle or a literal journey, your trip may be delayed or run into several difficulties. All right, so that's the description from the book. Now, let me give you some insights into the symbolism of the cards. So the first thing I want to point out to you that you'll see in many versions of the Tarot is this is the gentleman of the chariot. It's typically a man riding on a chariot that is being driven by opposing forces, the shadow and the light, the negative and the positive, the yin and the yang. Now, it's presumed that when this is in the upright, that this man has mastered these forces and he commands them through his will. If you'll see, he's holding a wand, and this is talking about his desire. He has activated third eye chakra, which means he is intuitively guided, and you also see that in the symbolism of the canopy and the stars and the moons on his armor. That is symbolism that you will see throughout many versions of the Tarot, that this is a person who is being guided or intuitively knows and is confident and is using that as his guiding force for this will. You also see the armor and the shield here. Now, the armor is very important to pay attention to the balance of it. Some of it is gold and some of it is silver. That means this person has alchemized the material and the spiritual. Another thing you'll see throughout many versions of the Tarot is this chariot person is wearing a lot of red, because this is about power. This is the red color is connected to the root chakra, and this is a big center of stability, and there's a lot of force that comes from that energy. The color red is very powerful. So another thing you'll see throughout the symbolism in the chariot is that this is a person that is gone out on a journey. There will typically be a castle behind them, some kind of a city, a town, but you'll be able to tell in the perspective of the card that they have left one thing and they are headed out toward another thing. So this is a card that has a lot of energy. It's a lot of travel. It's a lot of movement. This is not a card about stillness or contemplation. This is about exertion and force. Not in a negative way, but in a way that suggests that this is a dynamic energy, something that is moving, for better or for worse. So then in this card, you'll see, you can compare, if it would focus. So you can compare, right, the third eye chakra activation, the alchemy of the armor, the moon, the wand, the balancing of the forces, the leaving behind of the town. Beautiful, right? So you'll see these horses are being compelled. They're under control. They've brought him very far on his journey so far. He's got composure. He's determined by looking at his face. On this wand, you'll see these colors, which are very important. Root chakra, sacral chakra, solar plexus chakra. The three lower chakras, these are the chakras that are about physical manifestation, creation. You have root chakra is stability, sacral chakra is creation, solar plexus chakra is the will. The other symbolism that we see that is pretty important, again, is this like shield on the front of the chariot. I think it's sort of just to remind us that there's something in the front of it, something that's driving. This is like a symbolism that sort of tells us that there's a desire for something to be created with the red here, like a desire, something being brought into the physical. Now, in the shadow aspect, you'll definitely see how the symbolism is so important, specifically in this card. You see that the horses are out of control. The forces are not balanced, so they're going in opposing directions, which means he's going nowhere fast. He's spinning his wheels. You'll also see that there's no more alchemy in the armor. There's no more balance. It's all gold. It's all higher. There's no lower. There's no intuitive guidance here. The stars are missing from the canopy. There's no more third eye chakra activation. It's all crown. It's all from above. There's nothing connected to below. And if you see, there's no direction. There's really no clear, defined path where they came from or where they're heading. And that's because they're not being guided from above or intuitively. And they're using a lot of ego, and you can see his face is all twisted. It doesn't. And you'll see too that the horses are a lot more imbalanced looking, right? They're all in pride and ego and arrogance. So hopefully this has been very enlightening to you, and you've gotten some new information about the Chariot card that you did not before have. And if you see this in a reading, you understand now the energy of the Chariot and what this represents. If there's anything I missed, feel free to leave a comment. I really do appreciate all the feedback that people have been giving me. If you hit the like button, that's super appreciated as well. Helps these messages get out to other people so that they can learn with us. And stay tuned for the next episode. Thank you guys again for the support.